Come on, let's give some love and appreciation for Regalia in the house today. Chakra's with us this morning. Our voices of unity are here today. Give them some love and appreciation. All under direction of Chet Schwalik in the house. Just hang in there. Just hold that right there. Keep that coming, Chet. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. You ought to get some hearts and thumbs up because eyes haven't even seen, ears haven't heard the good that God has prepared for you. Are you ready? Are you ready? Type in the chat room, I was born ready. Type in the chat room, I was born ready. I was born ready. I was born ready. I was born ready. Come on, God, bring it on. What you got? I'm ready for this thing. I'm tired of being sick and tired. I'm ready to get my thing right now. I'm born for this moment in my life. Whatever it is, bring it on, God. I just take it like you bring it. Whatever package you want to deliver it in, I'm going to be there before it gets here. I'm open to my good right now. I don't know about you, but I'm already ready for mine. Hallelujah. Come on, give thanks in the house. God this morning. Woo! Well, it is absolutely true that I am literally preaching to the choir. It has come to this, literally, that I am preaching to the choir, but y'all all right. You are all right this morning. Hang with me today. God's taking us someplace today. Say, I'm ready to go. Come on, I'm ready to go. I'm on my way. Come on, I'm on my way. Oh, my goodness. Now, you all got me started before I got started. How am I going to get through the rest of this? We could just shout the rest of the time today. It's just too good to be true. No, it's not. If it's too good to be true, that means it is that good because it's true. It's that good because it's true. Type that in the chat room. Catch that for yourself. It's that good because it's true. All the false reports and everything to the contrary is just an illusion. But the thing that's really true, it's that good. Oh, my God. Well, I'm going to try to get through it today. You're joining us as we work through a series of lessons really designed to support you in what was just sung about. You having the willingness to fight for the life that you deserve, the life of your dreams, that which tugs at you and pulls at you. This is what this lesson series is about. And so many of us are ready for such a life. And I'm glad to see how everything ties together, the words of Maya Angelou, the music, the song, and now today's spoken word, because I know there's someone watching today that is holding on by a thread. Holding on by a thread. With just a mustard seed left of faith. You might not even call it faith. You might call it something else. You might call it hope. You might call it belief. I don't know what you're calling it, but you're holding on to that last modicum of something. Because you've tried everything. You've been to the seminar. You've had the corporate job. You played the game as was prescribed. You've been there and done that and got the t-shirt. And it feels sometimes as though you're being passed over. And sometimes you're searching to and fro, questioning whether or not it's worth it. When is my time going to come? If you know what I'm talking about, if I'm on your block, maybe near your street, if I'm at your front door, I want you to type in the chat room, know what you mean, Raph. And if you can't say it out loudly, I want you to say it within your heart. He's speaking directly to me. He's speaking directly to me. And so this morning, I want to invite you to hang on to every word. I want to invite you for a minute to suspend the story that may be on auto repeat in your consciousness about the way things are. For a moment, I want you to lay aside the feelings that seem to be so overwhelming and so all-consuming. I just want you to join us in what we're calling the deep now. The deep now. To be fully present to the presence. As we anchor ourselves in this lesson series, we call these lessons the 4 commandments for developing an all-in spirit. Or 4 commandments for unleashing your all-in spirit. And here's what I know for sure. If you are willing to follow these 4 commandments, in due season, you will truly reap a harvest. When did I say? In due season. And everybody has a due season. Don't you love that? Everything in creation has a due season. And I don't want it before it's my season. Did you hear what I said? Sometimes we get it before it's our season and we can't keep it. I've heard this story so many times. I got the person that I prayed for, but I wasn't ready for him. Got the job that I prayed for, but I didn't have the sense that was required to keep the job. Anybody know what I'm talking about? There is a due season coming for you. Let's say it in the first person for emphasis. There is a due season coming for me. And so I just want you to learn how to be present and sense the season as it comes. And these 4 commandments will entrain you, will show you, will shape you for that type of spiritual sensitivity. We've gone through them. I'm going to go over it a little bit. Just for those who may be joining us for the first time, let's get them down. The first one was, thou shalt trust the process. Thou shalt trust the process. And what we are saying about learning to trust the process is that everything in creation is encoded with a process, an orderly sequence by which a thing moves itself into expression. And I want to be aware of and in tune with that process more than I am aware of and in tune with my desired product of the process. Anybody hear that? You know, Stephen Covey used to have this law, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and one of the laws is to begin with the end in mind. And sometimes we get so myopic about the end that we disregard the way to the end. And beloveds, I'm telling you that it is the way to the end that's more valuable than the end itself. How you get there matters. Are you with me? Are you with me? We said that in order to trust the process that you and I are now shifting into a different way of being and seeing, and we are entering into a special class of souls called mystics. Did we not say that? And we talked about the mystic is the one who understands that he or she is deeply interested in apprehending the spiritual truths of life. I want to know the truth. I want to know the deeper meaning. I want to know the inner meaning of the outer story. I want to know the inner meaning of the outer event. I'm in pursuit of that as much as I am in pursuit of the thing. Have you got it? Because so many of us have gotten the things, and yet our souls are spiritually bankrupt. Empty on the inside, full on the outside. How much house can your soul be fulfilled by? How many cars can fulfill your soul? How many people do you have to have around you to have the soul be fulfilled? And so the mystic knows that I am always ready to be on the journey of becoming the person it takes for true soul fulfillment. I am on a journey to become the person it takes. So I live inside of a different question. My question is always, as I relate to life, not simply what do I want to get, or what do I want to gain, or who do I want to get? But who must I become in order to obtain, and maintain the desires of my heart? Please type that in the chat room and let's call it out for ourselves for emphasis. Who must I become? Come on, who must I become in order to attain, obtain, and maintain my heart's desires? And that takes you beyond the physical, beyond the appearances, beyond the surface. I'm getting beyond surface living. Lord, help me get beyond surface living while others are living. Who was it? Cyndi Lauper? I'm a material girl. Was that Cyndi Lauper? Y'all don't know Cyndi Lauper. I know half of y'all in here just went to sleep. Yeah. Huh? Was that Madonna? See, look at God. See, just all of the saints know Madonna. At any rate, you see, I know what I'm supposed to know. I don't have to know about Madonna. I didn't major in Madonna. But you knew what I was talking about, didn't you? Oh, dear God, help me to get beyond surface living. Because when I can get beyond the surface of things, then I can have it all. Are you with me? Thou shalt trust the process. Trusting the process also involves you learning to rely, we said, upon those inner faculties that has the capacity to do what? To see the invisible, hear the inaudible, and handle the intangible, see the invisible, hear the inaudible, and handle the intangible. I want to more and more learn to rely on those inner faculties than these outer ones. And then as I learn to rely on them, then I bring those outer faculties into union with the inner ones. Do you know that your eyes see what your consciousness saw first? So if your consciousness is trained on it never works out for me, if your consciousness goes to panic first, hear me today, your eyes will start searching for evidence to prove you right about there being a reason to panic. Are you hearing me? I've got to get my consciousness together so that my eyes can start finding what it is I really want to experience. My eyes, my ears, my mouth, my hands, my body are the servants to my inner faculties. They are here to serve them. So if I can train up this inner side, this inside of me, this great something inside of me, and I can become more and more aware of how that part of me is the real of me, then I will harmonize these outer gifts, these outer faculties to follow them and not the other way around. This is what the master teacher meant when he said, judge not according to the appearances. Have you ever judged according to the appearances? Walked in a room and looked around and says, nobody here looks like me. I guess I won't be making any friends today. But he finishes by saying, but judge with righteous judgment. Righteousness is this idea of right useness of the law. Right useness of the law. And what is the ultimate end of the law? The ultimate end of the law is the experience and expression of love. The law is always bent toward the experience and expression of love. Judge with righteous judgment. So then I walk in a room, before I walk in a room, I send my presence of love forth before me. I don't even get in the room, for I send my presence in the room before me and then have it move throughout the space, making friends for me all over the space. Are you hearing me today? Creating for me the outer working of the law, which is love. Yes? I need the choir now. I need you all to be my amen choir. Yeah? I mean, pretend like you agree with me today. First step, trust the process. Today's step that we will cover is called thou, and this is the second commandment, thou shalt double down. Or thou shalt learn to double down. Everybody say it with me. Double down. Thou shalt learn to what? Come on. Double down. Now, doubling down is something that often has with it a negative connotation because we are normally hearing about this and relating to this from a political perspective when politicians make statements. Have you ever heard a politician make a statement that we know was false or wrong, and then they come back and do what? Double down on it. After everybody knows it's a lie or untrue or, do you want to recant that statement? What do they do? Come on, double down. But now for things that are just and pure and right and of good report and worthwhile, we want to learn to double down. We want to learn to commit to our commitments. What do we want to do? Learn to commit to our commitments. To have an all-in spirit means that I don't give my word casually. I don't initiate a new course of activity in my life casually. How many of us have started things and we just start? We have all these starts around us. Started this, started that, start. All of these starts. Do you know that's word going forth? That's your commitment out there, and your commitment is now being screamed by the universe. And depending upon how you move in the direction of your commitment, how you are engaged with your commitment determines how much power you have to change and affect the world around you. Are you with me? Providence will move for the one that knows how to walk in integrity with his or her commitment. To double down means to live as your word. Type it in the chat room. I shall live as my word. In the house together, I shall live as my word. You become indivisible from your word. In fact, people know if you gave your word. If you gave your word for a thing, if you started a season, if you said, I'll be there, people can set their clocks by it. I am my word. Are you with me today? And that also pertains to the dreams in your heart. That also pertains to the things that you are starting, the new business that you're trying to get off the ground, the relocation to another city where you said you're going to go and homestead, whatever that is. I am my word. I'm seeing it all the way through. And it's so important to commit to our commitments so that your commitments know that you mean what you say. Talk to me. And you say what you mean. I have a wonderful story about this. Anita and I were getting married at Unity Village, Missouri. And we had our wedding plans and all of that. And couple days, I think the day before the wedding, they have wedding rehearsal. Anybody know about wedding rehearsal? Wedding rehearsal is when you get to walk through everything but kissing the bride. I'm like, why couldn't you throw that in there? And I'll save that till tomorrow. I was like, well, all right. And so we got to go through everything, and my best man, who is my attorney and lifelong friend from Morehouse since freshman year, was to be there to walk one of the maid of honor down the aisle. Is that the person, the maid of honor? Yeah, that's Anita's number one girl. Okay. I don't know, best woman, that we call her. Hey. Hashtag that. Best woman. You're welcome. And I was, because everybody was staying on the Unity Village campus, which has hotels and all of that on the campus, I didn't get to see everybody until it was kind of time to get to the rehearsal. And about an hour or so before, maybe an hour and a half before, I go and knock on the room of my best man, or where I think he's supposed to be staying, and I don't get him. And so I call him and say, hey, bro, where you at? I said, we've got wedding rehearsal in about an hour. You going to be here? And he said, oh, yeah, absolutely, I'll be there. Now, what I didn't know at the time was that he was not on the campus at all. In fact, he was about an hour away in Minnesota. I believe that's where it is. Is that the place near Missouri? Or is it Minnesota? One of these towns that just borders the state. Somebody check that fact for me. But he was about an hour away. I think he says he was taking one of his relatives shopping for something. And then he realized, you know, that moment when your word is out there? that moment of truth when you're about to be found out as a fraud. That moment, the stomach falling moment. Ever have that? And my guy pumped the brakes, stopped everything, grabbed his cousin, took the cousin home, and flew, he tells me. Flew. He got to flying down the road up to Unity Village. True story. Now the rehearsal is beginning. It has begun. Now I have made the commitment to myself during this time. I will let nothing and no one disturb the calm peace of my soul, for I am at peace. Nothing's stopping this wedding. I don't care who or what. I had that kind of peace going on. Because Anita had found the best thing she's ever had in her life, and I was not going to let her down. Isn't that right, babe? Yeah. And so they're starting to pair up now. And they pair up the line from the last to the first. You know, ultimately the best man and the best woman, the maid of honor, they would ultimately come in together last. And so the music is playing. David Oliver, the pipe organist, is playing the pipe organ, and they're walking in, and I'm standing by like I'm supposed to be. And it's going, and it's moving. And now we're down next to last. And the best woman is standing there. And on cue, my guy walks in and made it on time. Now, guess what? One of our men was on campus and was late. Come on, talk to me. Thou shalt learn to double down. Commit to your what? Commitments. I learned to live as my word. My word is out there. I said I would be there. And my brother, he walked. I said, look at God. Now, at the time, I didn't know that he had to move heaven and earth. Did you hear me? He had to move heaven and earth. He had to flip his car and everybody. Are you hearing me today? Oh, that's what God wants, nothing short of all. This is what I'm talking about, having an all-in spirit. And something about the witness of that. The universe looks on at the soul who can give it up at that level and says, oh, we've got to multiply the platform by which this individual gets to play upon. Your playground's too small if you can operate like that. Are you hearing me? You get more territory to show up in the world when you're committed to your what? Commitments. Now, what stops us from doubling down? What stops us from committing to our commitments? Because I think that that's the piece that we need to reference in order to get this part right. Now, I'm going to put some things on the shelves. I want you to imagine that you had a notepad, and I'm just going to put some information on your notepad for a minute. And I want you to stay in the mystical realm with me and start chewing on some of what I'm going to put down. Just see if you can pick up some of what I'm putting down. It's going to be on your notepad, but I'm going to read some things, share some things, and as you get this, we're going to try and put it all together. Would that be all right? And if I don't get to put it all together, I'm calling up one of the choir members who'll put it all together for you. They've only been with me for 12 years. They must be masters by now. Listen carefully. Newton's first law of motion, sometimes referred to as the law of inertia. Newton's first law of motion is often stated as an object at rest and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Come on, catch it, catch it, catch it. Somebody's already got it. An object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless, everybody say unless, acted upon by an unbalanced force. Everybody got that? Put that on your notepad. Now let's look here, Matthew 14:22. Look at 22 showing up again. 22 through the 33. Look, 4:22, once again, just playing with that for a minute. But I want to drop down. This is Matthew 14:22 through 33. But I want to pick up at, let's see, the 25th verse, okay? Listen carefully. We were covering this past Thursday a little bit. It says, shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, I want you to hear the them of that, because often this scripture is attributed to the activity of Peter. But the invitation was extended to all, yes. But Jesus immediately said to them, take courage, don't be afraid. Do what? Come on. Take courage and say it again. Take courage and don't be afraid. Lord, is it you? Peter replied. Tell me to come to you on the water. Come, he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink, cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. You of little faith, he said. Ready for this? Why did you doubt? Oh, I want you to look back over your life for just a moment. I want you to look back over the many times that you stepped out there and tried something and put your hand to the plow and had a burst of inspiration to take something on. I want you to look at your life and take a look at the times when you put one foot in front of the other towards something that was seemingly uncertain, but you answered a call. and then got more acquainted with the wind than the one who called you. Did you hear what I said? Peter was on the move as long as he kept his eyes on the one that called him to walk on the waters. He was doing the thing. Have you ever been doing the thing? Let's go back to Newton now. Ready? Talking about, are you on your clipboard? All right, let's look at it one more time. I hope you're following. Here he says it again. An object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction, unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Unless acted upon by some unbalanced force, you can keep on moving unless you allow the unbalanced forces of doubt and fear to take your focus away from the one that is calling you forward. The unbalanced forces of doubt and fear will always rob you of your forward progression. And this is why in the face of doubt and fear, you must learn to say, "Get thee behind me. You have no power here." Do you know how to talk to yourself? Do you know how to say, "I'm going anyway"? Sometimes doubt and fear shows up as that old spouse that comes back into your life with that old drama, right? Trying to intimidate you. Remember Ike and Tina Turner? Remember that whole experience? I know about those two now. I couldn't get Madonna down, but Ike and Tina Turner. Tina has liberated herself, emancipated herself from Ike, and she told the judge, "Just let me have my name. Just let me keep my name. I'll let him have everything else. Just give me my name, because if I can have my name, I can hear God when God calls my name. I don't need to answer to anything else. No outer appearances, no degree of wind is going to disturb me. Just let me have my name. I know when God calls. And if God calls me, I'm on the move. If the Spirit moves you, get to walking, get to stepping. Now, Jesus did recognize that Peter, which represents faith, Peter did have a little faith. You see, all of the disciples were there. But there was one that was willing to commit, to his commitment. There was one that was willing to double down. I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I said I'll be there, I'm going to be there. I committed to this God-sized dream. I'm going to have it. I will and I shall have my dream. So help me, God. I'm staying the course. Though unbalanced forces may appear. Now, the mystical mind is always present and aware that there are always unbalanced, unstabilizing forces that will appear for anyone who dares to step into their greatness. Did you hear me? Stop acting surprised because you have haters. Stop breaking down and crying because people criticize you and people talk about you and people don't agree with you and they won't support you and they told me no. Guess what? The very fact that you're producing haters means that you're on to something, that God is up to something. We won't allow the unbalanced forces to stop me from walking on the place that's meant for me. Are you hearing me today? And for those of you who have a tendency to be haters, that's all you're going to have. You'll have a good, delicious rumor to spread. And that's going to be the extent of your legacy. Bad-mouthing folks. Now, I am in prayer with Wendy Williams, like everybody else is, who's moving through a health condition. So I want to separate the fact that she's having a health condition from a pattern in her career of using herself and her platform to tear others down. Are you hearing me? Made a career off of exposing people's secrets, harping on people's vulnerabilities, sensationalizing people's weaknesses. Are you hearing me? In other words, serving as the unstabilizing, unbalancing force for people in their lives. Point to yourself and say, I refuse to let that be me. Come on, I refuse to let that be me. Say it again. I refuse to let that be me. Type in the chat room. I refuse to let that be me. If someone is having what you want to have and being what you want to be and doing what you want to do, don't hate, congratulate. Come on, type it in. Don't hate, congratulate. Girl, look at that car you got. That's a beautiful car. Can we take a ride? I just want to sit inside of it with you, baby. Let me celebrate this new car you got. Oh, look at that new spouse you got, that new partner you got. Wow. Let me invite you all over to dinner. I just want to bathe in the love vibration that y'all got going on. Are you hearing me? The mystic knows how to apprehend the higher spiritual truths in the moment, in the situation, so that you are never, actually, you become immune. You become immune to the unstabilizing forces. You become aware and immune. Awareness is everything. Consciousness is everything. Whatever you're conscious of, that means you're aware of it. And if you're aware that there are unstabilizing elements that move through society and that move through life and that moves through your own thought world, because your thought is an object too, then you want to learn to rise above it. I choose to rise above it and double down on my commitment to myself. Come on, I choose to rise above it and double down on my commitment to myself. I choose to rise above it and double down on my commitment to my dream. I know this all too well. I know it all too well. Because I set out on a journey here about 12 years ago. To give of myself in service to this ministry. And before I set foot in Sacramento, the unstabilizing forces started to conspire and started to say, well, you know what, let's do all that we can to make sure that somebody more qualified, to make sure that somebody more preferable, to make sure that somebody who can think like we want him to think and talk like we want him to talk and dress like we want him to dress and drive like we want him to drive and live like, let's do all that we can to see to it that someone else of our preference gets this position. Let's get in action now. Let's get in action now to destabilize the waters. Oh, but I was then, as I am now, one who realizes this, so critical. I'm one who believed that when you learn to listen to the whisperings of the still small voice that is within you, that you will always be led into the place that has been prepared for you. I learned how to drop beneath the noise. Everybody say, drop it down. Come on, drop it down. You got to learn how to drop beneath the noise and listen to the whisperings of the still small voice. And the still small voice said, I have need of you in Sacramento, California, Kevin Ross. They may not have need of you in Sacramento, California, but I have need of thee in Sacramento, California. Proceed with caution. Proceed with caution. You see, an object that is in motion will have a tendency to stay in motion. And so if you have started upon the journey that God has called you upon, keep on moving, stay in motion, keep it moving, for God has something bigger, better, and greater for you. You can't even imagine, for eyes have not seen, hallelujah, ears have not heard the things that God has prepared for those that love Him. Oh, if you can just stay in motion, beloved. Double down on what God has assigned you. Signs and wonders will follow you. Goodness and mercy will follow you all of the days of your life. And I will make your enemies. I will make your enemies. You don't even have to fight. I will make your enemies your footstool, because I stabilize all unstable conditions. Walk on the waters with Jesus and be made whole. And so it is written, and so I've spoken it, and so you have heard it, and so it is. Amen and amen.